Hey, this is Mark Rodriguez. I'm here at a pool in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I want to chime in and offer you some insights about a movie that's worth watching. It's a 20-minute film called A Swim Lesson, and I'm very grateful that it's available on YouTube for free, and people should watch it, but then we've got a debrief about it too. There's some things in here that are not so good. Now, I love that it's free. I love that it's 20 minutes long. I love that it's going to generate discussion. And boy, we're going to use it and leverage it for discussion. As a lifeguard and as a swim teacher and coach, I hated to see a few of these things happen. And I wonder what you thought about the movie. So go watch the movie and then send me a little video with your reactions. And then we'll start to blend these together and we'll have an ongoing discussion. Was it heavy or was it not about the movie film up on YouTube, ready to view? Just spend 20 minutes and then run your camera like I'm doing now, send it to me. We've got a way to upload the file that you create. If you go to youcanswim.wetransfer.com, then you'll be able to upload a bigger file and then I'll be able to easily receive it and it won't clog up our emails. youcanswim.wetransfer.com. I want to hear about what you think of the film A Swim Lesson, 20 minutes long on YouTube just now. Thanks for your interaction. Did you watch it? A little video, 20 minutes long on YouTube called A Swim Lessons? Well, here's what I thought. Perhaps there was a lifeguard present when the teacher jumps out of the pool, scurries across the grass about 10 yards away, picks up the toddler, and comes back to the pool. She's crying. I imagine this happens often. She's only away for maybe 10 or 15 seconds, but boy, that scares me. I don't want to see that happen. Now, perhaps there was another person watching the pool. I didn't see that though. It would have been nice to have that happening. So you can't turn your back on the kids when they're in the water, especially such wee ones, especially when the movie cameras are running. For goodness sake, that was a bad move. Show me the lifeguard, I have no problem. Well, we do have a problem when you're grabbing a baby, a toddler, it's crying their heads off, and you're gonna make them go swimming. Now, that's sort of the trauma thing that a lot of other people have spoken well about. Another thing that I would have done, I want to see the kids, the little ones, learn how to kick properly, and the best way to get that done is with a pair of fins. If you're going to teach that many kids all the time, get 5 or 10 pair of swim fins of the small variety. They have them that you can just hook around your back leg, and then that exaggerates the feeling for the water, and the kids will be able to swim and kick and have that reinforcement work their nervous system so they can properly swim. These kids are doing some type of, running bicycle kick style kicking. It's, 1 point forward, 1 point back. It's put fins on the kids. They'll be able to, after a couple moments, maybe a day or two, build up their kicking strength and making it something that they can get a good body position and kick. Another thing, boy, even kids like goggles. I didn't see any goggles on the kids. Give the kids some goggles. We swim with goggles, and not that they have to wear them, but it's sort of another way to get prepared for the pool, putting your face under, using some goggles. I think goggles would be a nice way to boost the kids so that they're able to swim better sooner. Lastly, for now, is those pool setting was too deep. There was just a tiny bit of shallow water on those steps. The kids were too small. They couldn't touch the bottom. Now, there's a lot of time when you want your kids in water over their heads, but I'd like to have more shallow water. When we taught at the Pittsburgh Project, or I taught in the city of Waco, there's a baby pool with a little bit of water. You could run, you could jump, you could sit on the bottom. You can do all sorts of fun things when the kids are in control and they're getting some aerobic work and they're starting to follow instructions and they're doing more and more. You can do alligator walk, but the only way to do that is have the bottom of the pool within arm's length of the kid. And then they can get into body position. Then they can alligator walk with their face under. At the country club we was recently at, there were a number of steps into shallow water, and those steps ran the whole width of the shallow end. So you could go coast to coast in 6 inches of water, and then you could drop it down to 2, or you could drop it down to 3 steps, and the kids could back float even in 6 inches of water and be carried along. And then if they ever just wanted to sit up, it was fine. So shallow water is a nice tool. Now, at a pool that's built, you can't necessarily lower the water level, but you can get a tot dock. That's a platform that sits on the bottom of the pool that could stretch across that little width and allow for kids to be able to walk in the pool and get a much more robust workout, and I think have more fun. And you know, the crying kid, you can walk with them. Maybe it's walking for 2 or 3 or 4 days. The tears will go away, they will get empowered. Then it's not this all or nothing, because it's all deep water. So let's talk about the movie. What were your observations?
We watched the film. It made me sad. There was not much fun happening. The pool should be a place of joy and fun for the whole family.
I watched it. The safety issues mostly stood out. I don't think he has done much research on what the industry is attempting to accomplish.
We are a diverse group of experts and researchers. We write to express deep concern and dissent over the Oscar-nominated short documentary A Swim Lesson. We urge its removal from award consideration. The water safety education/learn-to-swim industry in the U.S. is decentralized and fragmented. It is to some degree characterized by a dearth of leadership, adaptation, and innovation rooted in evidence-based best practices. Some describe the field as a throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks approach, resulting in both effective methods and, unfortunately in some cases, harmful practices that have traumatized children across generations. There are multifaceted reasons for the decentralization and siloed nature of this space. On a related front, drowning prevention efforts globally are hampered by challenges associated with demonstrating through peer-reviewed literature a drowning risk reduction versus increased aquatic resiliency. One challenge is the near impossibility of conducting prospective versus retrospective research, including related to aquatic pedagogy, institutional review board and funding requirements. These challenges, coupled with the real fear around the world for children's safety in aquatic environments, has resulted in a space in which personalities and unproven methods may reign in certain pockets. These are lengthy subjects of discussion. Those of us who write today who additionally have aquatics experience are dedicated to changing the status quo, disseminating research into practice, providing a greater evidence basis where evidence is limited, and reconsidering practices that may be long-standing, but have no evidence basis, and which may simultaneously be harmful to the emotional and/or physical development of young children. Health and safety practices must balance innovation with evidence-based methods that adhere to the fundamental principle within medicine and public health. We need to always strive to do no harm. Let's always embrace trauma-free learning. Any cogent evaluation related to health and safety involves the evaluation of harms versus benefits. Do no harm, a principle that extends to educators and researchers as well. Many of the approaches depicted in A Swim Lesson violate this principle. The film showcases clear emotional and physical trauma. Be free from trauma. Across cultures and societies today, including here in the U.S., exists a widespread ignorance about water safety education. This pervasive knowledge gap, including within many of our own fields of medicine and pediatrics, public health, and aquatic education, allows room for ineffective and, in some cases, trauma-inducing practices to gain traction. Children are seen being forcibly placed in situations where they feel unsafe, constituting emotional trauma. Physically, the children in the film exhibit respiratory impairment, the first stage of drowning, coughing, choking, swallowing and/or aspirating water, and even vomiting. One of the many children who repeatedly suffer respiratory impairment, Zippy, vomits yellowish fluid due to excessive water ingestion and/or due to severe anxiety and distress. This is not discomfort, it is physical trauma. Respiratory impairment constitutes the beginning stage of the drowning process. Drowning is the process of experiencing respiratory impairment from submersion of immersion in liquid. That is what these children shown in the film repeatedly experience, the initial stages of drowning. By showcasing these unfiltered realities, the filmmakers expose the harm, but also risk legitimizing it. Oscar recognition would further confuse the public about best practices in early aquatic education and trauma-free pedagogy. The approach presented in the documentary is a significant concern. Children with limited to no skills receive virtually no instruction to gain new skills, at least with the material shown in the film. They bicycle kick with seemingly no remediation as they repeatedly struggle for air, try to escape, and cry hysterically for their parents. They are not swimming when doing so, despite the film's commentary to the contrary. A face-down glide with a bicycle kick, virtually no arm strokes, and no evidence of the child being able to get air independently, nor learning how to do so, is not swimming. In fact, bicycle kicking is part of the instinctive drowning response. The characterization of this material as a swim lesson becomes even further removed when you add in respiratory impairment to this equation. What is presented is children incredibly low in water competency from start to finish. Expert consensus universally rejects trauma-based approaches. Effective programs build trust, minimize fear, and follow developmentally appropriate practices. The approach shown in A Swim Lesson would never pass ethical review for peer-reviewed research. The film depicts children visibly distressed, running away, and being forcibly returned to conditions they perceive as threatening and stressful, clear violations of ethical practice. With the film, A Swim Lesson, the ends do not justify the means. Good intentions and years of practice do not equate to safe, effective pedagogy. We urge the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences to remove A Swim Lesson's nomination to prevent further confusion about effective, evidence-based water safety education and trauma-free aquatic pedagogy.
So let's talk about the movie. I love the photography. I love that he's making a business and being able to charge people and make a living on it. But boy, I would have loved to have seen some other things happen in a better way. And this is not a program that I would ever copy or institute in my settings. What did you think of that?
Can I tell you the truth?
Yeah.
I always do. I thought it was dangerous. You know what I mean? I thought that type of format was dangerous a few years ago when one of the big agencies in the States and maybe even in the UK started to do, you can teach your kid by watching our videos, learn from home. I can look at it in a positive light, like the guy's got a passion, whether he's gone after the money or he's got a pool that he wants to pay, right? Those are all issues, right? But then if we look at it, maybe he's doing good. Maybe he's not, but maybe he doesn't have any training. It's not just the training while you're looking after him. It's the training, what are you giving to the parents, right? If we look just at one issue, like if you look at our dolphins program, our super dolphins, that was for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, very talented in the water, but it's also was for very talented young guys that have no fear for water. They'll jump in whenever. They'll dive in whatever. They do stuff. They love water. But there should always be somebody looking after him that's been trained in, hey, this is what's going to happen. Yesterday, this is just straight off. Yesterday, when I was getting ready for my little guys, a baby, like a little guy, like girl, 2 years old, maybe, comes running out of the changing room, right? No mom around. And I just had to leave my class and run across and block the door, right? Mother comes out giggly, she's so happy she wants to go in, right? And she grabs her by the hand and takes her in. Less than 2 minutes later, the kid takes off again and comes through, and mom comes out, oh, she's too fast for me, And then a third time, right, when they're in the teach pool, mother does not move fast enough. By the time she gets out, the little kid is already at the edge of the main pool. Mom's still in the teach pool. So we're dealing with all those issues, right? He's done all right, right? Is he looking long-term of what he's doing with those children, right? I know in certain areas, like in Australia, for example, big issue, we shouldn't be dunking kids under the water. Other ones like and they've been quite successful. You've probably seen them where the lady teaches the kid just to turn over and float on their back. They're good videos, but not every kid will flip over on their back and stay relaxed. We know that. You can get a kid at quite a good level. I do it. I flick water on their face and they panic, right? They go into this straight away. And you go, why did you do that? Well, I got water on my face. With babies, it's a natural thing. Water goes on their face and all hell breaks loose. You have to take all those things in, and you actually get to the point, somebody's going to watch those videos and start teaching their own kids. It's like when we watch a movie, Mark, at the beginning, right? It's going to have sex, it's going to have violence, it's going to have smoking, it's going to have this, it's going to have flashing lights. If this will affect you or your family, please don't watch it. I think it's the same thing. I've got nothing against the guy trying to do it and try to promote his business. But you actually have to go, does he have any qualifications? Does he have this? Does he have that? Is there a system? I have the same problem trying to get my program into all the private swim schools. At least all their staff are qualified as lifeguards and CPR if something goes wrong, right? And they know the process. But then you go to the other side, they go, Barry, everybody makes, and they say to me all the time, Barry, everybody just makes their own chili mix. They don't want to standardize everything. And you're going, so does that include the guy that wants to have the kid jump off the 10-meter tower? Does that include the guy that says you can dive at 3? Somebody's responsible, but you and I have both talked to that guy with the fencing. Shit hits the fan when there's a drowning. And they're in close proximity, right? Everybody's there. It's just a mistake or something went wrong, or somebody in the family, just like that lady yesterday, somebody will get my kid. That's in her mind. Somebody will stop my kid going in the pool. Yes, if somebody's watching. I'm just lucky that I'm turning around at the right time. There's two sides to it, right? Yes, he's making a good business. Nobody at the moment in the States is going to stop anybody saying anything, right? And posting anything. From me, I'm going, hey, I can't get away with that. Right? I can't go away and give somebody a job and hire them and say, go off on your own and teach at the pool, because I know they don't have the experience. I know they don't have the knowledge, right? And in most cases, they don't understand what the outcome will be if it goes wrong. They're not told that, right? Ever. We actually have to say, no, that it looks good. Right, it looks good, but is he following all the guidelines? And you go, do you want to get into that shit or not? It's just, he's got to think about it. Does he have insurance? Does he have this? Does he have that? And is he giving the families enough education to go, hey, your kid's really good, but you know what? I keep a close eye on him because he's got no fear. He's got no fear. And they will run and jump because they know somebody's going to come for me. I listen to that one comment that he made. Some are going to go on this great adventure by, pulling themselves along the pool. That's a scary thing just on its own. when I was working with those guys in the States, your guys, right? They'd invented, I don't know if you know the outcome, they'd invented how to make all pools 25-meter and 25-yard pools into wave pools. Did you ever see that project they were on?
No.
And it was quite good. They designed, it was just basically, how can I put it? It was just like a pipe that went into the wall from the back side of the wall, right? With a pump inside it, right? And it made waves. They invented after that a foam edge that got sort of tightened down to make the pools deeper, like so they could raise the water up. And that was foam all the way around the side. I was invited to watch the pool in action, and it worked. And the Ellis family were really excited about it, that it you know, that this could be a new thing, right? This could be a new thing, this turning these pools, and it was a wide pool that they used. Anyway, this is so sad. On the first day, I wasn't there. On the first day, they opened it up to the public. Along the side of the plastic things or foam things around the side, they had ropes for people to hang on to, right? Which was a smart move. Anyway, a kid drowned and died on that. He'd gone along on the rope, got to the deep end, and probably the waves were at the deep end were stronger than at the bottom. And it took him off, right? It must have thrown him off in the waves. At the same time that had happened, when they came to the inquest, the lifeguard, there was only one lifeguard on, was doing a water test and was in the office. Just a comedy of errors, just a comedy of this is what's happened. And that was the end. I don't know if they put any more in after that. I really don't. I know the guy that was working on the project, it destroyed him. It really destroyed him. And it goes, why did we not think of that? And you're going like, who would? But that same thing that guy was teaching kids to do, all they have to do is climb along. You're going, well, where's mom and dad at this point when that kid's climbing along? In our pools, if you're not in arm's reach of your little guys, the lifeguard can say, get out of the pool. Like, you're not looking after your kid. If they've got a life jacket on, most pools say that they can't go past into the deep end. Maybe the life jacket comes off. What did you think? That's just my views.
A few of the pieces in the film were great. I thought the underwater photography was superb. I like that he had two hats on. He's keeping himself out of the sun, and had a few standards with regards to always, wear the same suit or wear the same outfit. And maybe in the back of my mind, I'm thinking maybe there was somebody else watching the pool at the other side. When he got out and ran across and grabbed somebody, but I didn't see that in the movie, in the film. Mm-hmm. So when he left the other kids in the back and ran across and grabbed the screaming child and brought her back, that made my heart skip. I watched with my wife, and she was nervous and uncomfortable with it, as a parent, and they showed the anguish. Another thing that happens in the media these days is they have to have conflict, or if they don't show tension, and this is not how you should behave. There's some damning things in here. I also think for sure, when you're teaching the little ones, it's nice to have more shallow water. They were confined to just those little steps.
Yes.
And there's no reason. Well, you could do a bunch of things. You could drop the water level so that they could go, or you could use tot docks.
Yes.
And have platforms so that the kids could. I always love to start the lesson where we're going to run, or we're going to jump, or we're going to skip, and we're going to, do dolphin dives and all sorts of other things. And if there's enough shallow water, then that's great. Being it's free, everybody can look at it. We can talk about it. We can debrief. I'm glad it's there for throwing darts at, as opposed to this is some good, where's some bad. So I think it could make for great discussion points within the curriculum. Hey,
that's a good. That's a really good idea. I never thought about that, but sometimes it's like you asking me a question, right? And it's probably the same to you. What do you think about that? And you're going, whoa, like even your wife, right? Like, no, there's something wrong here, right? That's not comfortable, right? Does the guy not understand? And I have to go into that every time we branch out and go into, like in the UK, for example, dealing with social services. Our rules are totally different, Barry, because you're dealing with totally different parents, right? These are the things you have to understand. It's not the norm, right? It's not the norm, but it's getting bigger. It's the same as everyone. You know, we got more kids with ADHD. We got more kids now with issues than we've ever had. And now you're getting to the point, not only do I have to get the guy to be able to be a good teacher and passionate and write the workouts and be happy and clappy, right? Dealing with this kid at this end and this kid at this end, different ends of the spectrum, right? And there's no way a 15 and 16-year-old kid will do that. Not until they're 25 after they've had that experience.